Welcome back to Native Honor Hours. My name is Ed Zendejas and co-host
Cindy Krafka. Welcome back.
Yeah, we have a very special guest today. Actually showed up today. It's Heather Goedel Parker. She's all the way from Atlanta, Georgia.
Ooh, yes.
By way of what, California and all places in between?
Yes. I grew up in California. I lived there for 20 years and I've been in Atlanta for 11.
And she's a performer, singer, and has done quite a bit actually. And I very impressive resume. And she also has just produced a new. Do we call them CDs anymore? What do we?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can call them CDs.
But they aren't really CDs anymore, are they? Do you just have to download stuff now?
Yeah, or just the album. We just call it an album still, you know?
Yeah, but you don't even know what an album is.
I do know what an album is.
Before you were even born.
They're making a comeback, Ed. Vinyl's making a comeback.
But we got Heather here. I have to say she's good friends with my daughter, and that's how I come to know her. And
I have to say his daughter beaded me these earrings.
Yeah, she's quite talented, amongst other things. And
shout out to Meredith.
We're familiar with her family. Actually, your dad taught my daughter Meredith how to hoop dance, and your sister Erin. My youngest son, Ruben, danced with your brother Michael on with Living Legends.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yes. So actually, your dad was at BYU. I think we're about the same age, but he did his undergraduate there, and I did grad school, so we sort of missed. But
okay,
we know the same circles of.
Of course, it's a small crowd.
Yep. But you want to tell us a little bit about? I know you're quite the singer. You've done a lot of things vocally. If you want to let us know a little background on what you've done. If not, I'll fill in the gaps.
Sure. Well, first of all,
if you're too shy to say so.
So much fun. It's so fun talking with you. I feel like you're just like an uncle. You remind me of so many people in my circle, including my dad. So I really appreciate you having me here. I grew up singing my whole life. I was always a choir girl. I pursued music professionally when I was in my 20s. And I kind of found myself in a place that was, I was kind of getting sucked up into, I think maybe not the best scene in Hollywood. And so, I decided that I would sort of take a step back. That's my husband in the background, dropping everything. But so I took a step back. In that time, I got married, started building my life with my husband, and decided that I would start pursuing more gospel music, and doing more in that scene. And so in that time, I continued writing and whatnot. I found myself in Gladys Knight's choir called the SUV choir. And
hold on again. That was who? Because some of our audience, I find
who she is.
Class all the time explaining to my students who these names are. And you're whose choir?
In Gladys Knight's choir, in her SUV choir.
I would hope people would understand the significance of Gladys Knight.
I know, I would hope so. But you know what? Even when I auditioned for her choir, I really did not know the magnitude of who she was. I didn't know how, I know, isn't that horrible? But my dad saw it as a good opportunity. And so I auditioned for her, and she gave me an opportunity to start having solos and gave me a lot of confidence on stage. She really encouraged me. And then when I moved out to Atlanta with my husband, because my husband—
Wait, time out.
Yes.
You got to tell me, what is it like to sing in front of Gladys Knight?
It is nerve-wracking. It is nerve-wracking because she's so good, right? I mean, you have the top of the line. I mean, she's been on professional judging shows, you know, for crying out loud. So, you know, she's going to hear every flaw. But she is a lot more, how do I say it? She gives a lot more grace than I do as a judge, or as a critic, you know. She's just very kind-hearted, very loving.
Did she start out in gospel?
No, she started out in Motown. She just started out in radio, and the church stuff that we did was never publicized. She always sort of wanted to keep it like her thing and really protect it. And there was also a lot of people involved. And so, you know, I really don't even publicize much of that too much, just out of respect. It's kind of like her, more of like her personal life, her spiritual side. But, yeah, and so what we would do is we would go out and perform and do, we would do gospel music with choirs, and she would just bear her testimony and talk about her faith and her walk with Christ. And so her and I became close over some time. When I moved to Atlanta, it really opened a door for me. She had put out an album. What album was it? I can't even think of the name. But I had played one of my arrangements for her, and she really liked it. And so she ended up wanting to put that on her album. So we did a duet on one of her albums, which was like a big deal for me, you know.
Oh, I bet.
For her, she was just like, oh, you know, no big deal. But for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is a dream. And so that went out through Deseret. And then she started to see
for people who don't know what Deseret is, you want to explain real quick what that is?
Yeah, so Deseret Book is a distributor. They have many bookstores across the nation, mostly on the West Coast. And they also are a music label. So she had put out a few albums with them. And after we had done that song, with me being in Atlanta, she started to notice, I think, some of my skill set, and she wanted me to help her find more singers in Atlanta. And so from there, we started to really grow the choir. And I started to learn from her a lot more as far as building songs and production and arrangements and harmonies. My network grew a little more. And then Deseret came back to me years later and asked if I would produce an album for them. And so that's sort of been my walk in music as of late, over the past, I guess, 10 years, you know, as far as gospel goes. And so I produced an album called Shine for Deseret Book. Here it is right here.
I see.
Yeah. And all the kids are from Atlanta. You know, I go to church with this little girl. I babysat this little girl. This kid I babysit. I mean, I just kind of grabbed a bunch of kids. I was like, hey, can you be on the cover? And really, essentially what it is are Christian songs that many of us have grown up with. Maybe some of us haven't. And what I did is I sort of remade a bunch of them so they're more hip, they're a little more current. We have a lot of like Atlanta beat makers on there, and we added some soul and jazz, and so it's just like a fun, it's a fun, lighthearted album, very family oriented, and it's a faith, you know, it's geared toward a faith-based audience, but even if, you know, you're not strong in the faith, there's definitely some lighthearted songs in there, just good feeling songs. So that has been sort of my musical journey up until now.
Before we were on the air, Kenny was preaching to me about the parable of the prodigal son.
Oh, okay. Amazing.
So in case you look at Cindy and Kenny and think, really? No, they know a little bit. No.
Yeah, so I mean, I really wanted to choose songs that it's an interfaith album and non-denominational, that could really represent all faiths, so that you could easily hand it to one of your friends and just say, hey, like we have an African version of Yes, Jesus Loves Me on here. We have Popcorn Popping, which is about absolutely nothing spiritual, but it's just a fun song. And then there's a few originals on there. So, and there's some really talented musicians that I was able to con really into getting on the album. So I really lucked out with some of the musicians that contributed.
How long did that take you to do in terms of gathering the talent, getting them in the studio, fixing it up, arranging it, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so it took me about, I want to say 6 months to get a good lineup of songs together that I wanted to remake. And after I finalized kind of the songs that I wanted to do, there's an approval process that you have to go through with the label, because not all of the songs are written by me. So I have to get permission to do them and whatnot. So there's that process. And then there's another production process that takes, I would say, 6 to 8 months. Now, we got thrown a curveball because last year, during my production deadline, that's when the pandemic hit. So it was very challenging. We somehow, and I promise you by, the Lord's hand, I know this isn't a religious show, but that's the only way it could have been done. We're able to get the whole album done here in Atlanta. We did it in an apartment. Me and my co-producer, Miles, he goes by Mileage. He's like a big beat maker. And I was able to direct people that were in different states over FaceTime. I was kind of just thrown into it, and I had to meet a deadline. And I think just like everyone else, you just figure out a way to make it happen. So it really was
really hit pretty hard by COVID.
Yes, we were hit. And the thing too is that I really couldn't have people come in the studio because it was such a risk at that point. And not only that, we had, when we wrapped up the video, I'm sure you guys saw all of the protests and marches that were happening in Atlanta. That was literally outside of the apartment. I mean, it was chaos when you walked outside. And so it was just sort of crazy. It was like this whirlwind. I really don't know how I was able to get it done. And thank goodness, I did have a good, reliable circle of people, and people were very professional, and somehow, some way we got it done. But, it's like, what did you do during the pandemic? Well, this is what I did. This is what I got out of it. So
way more than either me or Ed accomplished.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm pretty proud of it,
How many children do you have, and what are their ages?
So I have 2 kids. One of my kids is, give me one moment. Let's see. Somebody's calling my phone. One of my kids is 8 years old, and the other one is 5.
Oh, those are great ages.
I know. We're in such a good place. I really wouldn't have been able to do this a few years ago because I was in such, that preschool
Mommy world.
And they are also featured on the album. So I had both of my boys help me close out the album with the last song. And they sing I Am Like a Star. And so, yeah, it's nice that I have both of them on there,
How many songs do you actually sing on the album?
Let's see. That's a good question.
Ooh, Ed, that's the first time you ever heard that. How does it
No, every guest says that sometime during the show.
They say that's the first time I've ever thought of that. Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I sing 5 of the songs. And originally, I was not supposed to be singing 5 of the songs, but again, because we couldn't have people in the studio, it was like, well, I'll just do it. You know, I have to do it. I had to get it done. So it ended up working out. We have a lot of guests on there that are awesome. We have Aaliyah Rose, who is on The Voice. We have, I'm trying to think of everyone's name. We have Jesse on there, who is a guitarist. He plays with everybody. I mean, when I was recording with him, I was looking at his tour badges and I was just like, oh my gosh, how is he doing this album? I mean, he does Kanye's music and Mary J. Blige, anybody you can think of, he has played on one of their tours. And so he's one of the—
Has he played with Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers?
He probably has. He's probably best friends with them, actually.
Then he's made it then.
Yes. So now you know he's top of the line. So we had the Tonga sisters on there. They're a big name in the Polynesian community. And so, yeah, we had some great features on there too, which was really exciting. Oh, and of course, how can I forget? We had Tishna Lynn on there, who I think that one of her songs is one of the most popular songs. It's called When I'm Baptized, and she is Native as well. And so she's one of our featured singers on there, and she has an amazing voice.
How has the album done? Is it a lot of sales?
You know what? I only get to look at the books once a year, and I haven't had that opportunity yet. So I am not sure. We're going to still continue to promote it this year. Last year, we got, again, hit really hard promoting because I couldn't get out and sing. People couldn't get out and perform. And so we're going to just continue promoting it throughout the year. We also couldn't do a music video last year because of just protocols. So we have put that back even until now. So we're hoping to shoot a music video for Shine, the single. And, I'm going to give it another while of promoting it because
we had Gary Farmer on here, one of our first shows when we came back. He was promoting his new TV series on Sci-Fi called Resident Alien. And after our show aired, it just blew up.
This is my big shot.
They've been renewed for the second season. I'm telling you,
out of Nebraska,
your sales are just gonna
fly.
You'll be having requests for another album. So
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah,
I am hoping for that.
It'll happen, and you can thank us.
And the 12 people who are watching. And I had
you guys.
The other night I was watching, oh my gosh, the show was Sheldon, Big Bang Theory. And they were doing their show Fun with Flags. And I thought, oh my God, that's me and Ed. Sheldon and Amy doing Fun with Flags.
Hey,
Well, what you have anything in the future? Are you gonna do this again? Are you gonna go back on the road with Gladys Knight?
I hope so. I would love to. I know she's had to sit still for a while because she, give me just 1 second. Somebody's knocking on my door.
How dare them?
Because of the pandemic and everything.
And how old is Gladys Knight?
She's in her 70s.
Yep.
I'm not sure exactly, but
I didn't think we were supposed to be asking about women's ages.
Somehow I sense she's not watching, Ed. I think it's okay.
Oh, but she is proud about her age. I do know that because she looks really good.
She
She's
does.
not lost a beat.
No.
So
she looks great.
Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Meredith told me that you were on American Idol.
Oh yes, your daughter went with me to my audition.
That's how
I was never on it.
That's how come she told me about that.
Say what?
That's how come I heard it from her. I just wanted, you didn't mention anything about it. I didn't know whether.
Oh, yes. And matter of fact, I wish I should have pulled up those pictures because my dad had sent me a box home and I ran across a picture of us in the parking lot. I think she camped with me in the parking lot for American Idol. I can't remember that well. I don't know why. I think I have memory loss. I don't know, but I know I didn't make it on the show. I did go kind of far, I guess, but that was a fun time. That was a fun time. Now, one of the singers actually on the album, her name is Jalen. She was on American Idol this year. She didn't get any airtime, but she went really far. She was in like the top 20 or something.
Wow.
So she did really well, and she's one of the singers. So they're American Idol.
I know your family, you come from a family of dancers as well, hoop dancers.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, you know, and I have a couple kids that hoop dance as well.
Yeah.
And I would probably trip and fall just putting one of those over my head.
Hoop dance is beautiful.
Yeah.
So, apparently either, you know, not saying you're not a good dancer, but you focused on the singing part rather than the dancing.
I did. Actually, I used to go out and hoop with my dad a lot as a child. I developed a knee condition when I was maybe 13 or so, and they pulled me out of PE and they put me in choir. I had what was called Osgood Slaughter, and they told me I couldn't do any dancing, no PE, nothing. And so I just stopped dancing from there, and I still can do fancy and jingle. Matter of fact, I borrowed your daughter's jingle dress a few months back. We did a TikTok video, and she was so sweet.
I don't think you realize how much time and effort my wife went into making that.
You know what? Those were so cool. The ones where they handed off the makeup brush or something, and then you.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Those were amazing.
Yeah, that one did really well. That one did really well. It was a lot of fun. And I created the music for that too. So that was really fun.
Those were cool. And then I saw ones from Alaska. It just took off, and it was amazing to see the girls do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I always love to do things in like a native way. I don't have as many native friends out here as I do on the West Coast, just because this isn't where I'm from, but I always love to do anything with anyone almost, you know, when I go back home. So I always get with Meredith.
You can give a shout out to your dad. He's world champion.
I know. Shout out to does he need the shout out? He's got so much going on, but he really is. And he's so modest about it. He is like,
you want to say who his name is so people can.
My dad is Terry Goedel. A lot of people, it's funny because it's like when you trace back your lineage, everyone goes back to this one person. I feel like when people trace back their hoop dancing, like so many people like trace back to my dad. Because when he was dancing, there just weren't that many dancers. And gosh, he's been doing it maybe 40 something years now. He's 65, and he was the world champion this year at the Heard Museum. My other sister was the women's world champion, or the women's champion of that. Did you guys hear about that women's hoop dance contest in Utah?
Yes.
Yeah. So
my daughter was involved in that, Meredith.
Oh yes, she was there. So both of my sisters were in that one. One of my sisters was the champion, and my younger brother, for some reason, he just hasn't placed. He's so good.
He is. He's
so good.
He is. He's an amazing hoop dancer.
I don't know what it is, but one of these.
You know what it is? A lot of it is sort of, tradition. I think it's good. A couple more years, all you got to do is win one. And then once you win one, it just takes off from there. But he is an outstanding hoop dancer.
Yeah, he really is. He's just so natural. He's so good. And I did talk to my dad this year, and I told him, I said, I have this idea to do like a TikTok series because I love TikTok. It's like my favorite platform. I'm kind of a mess on it, but I said, I have this idea to do a TikTok series where you teach me how to hoop dance, and we just do it every day for maybe a week or 2 weeks, and then at the end
that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
And hopefully I'll learn a thing or two. Hopefully I don't make too big of a fool of myself, but I know I can do it. It's just a matter of putting in the time, and it's dedicated time. Now, my sisters had a chance to go out and perform a lot, and so did my brother. And so when you get out and you're performing, and it was part of almost their education, because they had scholarships performing, and so they would go every week, multiple times a week, and practice. So that dedication was just sort of like scheduled in. And so I just have to make that time for it, you know. But I definitely, both of my boys hoop dance, and I want them to continue on in the tradition, and so it's funny because even though I don't dance, I can instruct them, and I can tell them how to do things. So,
well, have you given any thought to maybe doing some traditional Native music in a more contemporary setting?
I have. I don't know if you know Abraham Thomas. I don't know if it's Abraham or Abram. I just call him Abe. He is an awesome singer. I've done some stuff with him and with Tish, and I would love to collaborate with them. I produced a song and video a few years back called The Circle of Life, and I did that one with my dad, and we did it all around the hoop dance, and that was really special for me. That one meant a lot for me, but there's definitely a lot more that I want to do. The hard thing is that sometimes in this day and age, when you put stuff out and it sort of pushes the how do you say it? When you take risks sometimes in the music and you sort of infuse more modern sounds with traditional sounds, people will give you a lot of heat for it.
That is true.
You know, a lot of natives had, you know, come for me on some of my TikToks, and I'm, you know, you can't please everyone, I guess, you know, but I definitely would like to do more.
I've seen some really amazing hoop dances done to hip hop.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand. It's traditional, but it's a modern version of what traditional is.
Right.
And what's traditional to me and Ed is different than what's traditional to you, and is going to be different than what's traditional to your children.
Right. Well, and I'm really a big believer that the dancer is the artist. You know, it's their art form. And I think as long as you know where it comes from and you respect where it comes from and you're educated on where it comes from, then you have a little more free reign to explore in it. But I think the challenge is that if you're not educated on it, like we were just talking about Tulalip design, because I've been working on these t-shirts, and so there's more modern designs, but there's also the formal technique that you should know. And I've really been cautious about putting any designs out there just because I want to make sure that I'm educated and knowledgeable, and that I'm not doing anything that's inappropriate or offensive to the culture or whatnot. But, you know, I think that it's good to sort of make our place in the modern world as well, you know?
Well, I know you're doing a very outstanding job of promoting and using your talents for good things, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. That's sort of the purpose of our show, is to, you know, highlight some of the things that Native people are doing, and maybe things that are a little bit different and exciting. So I was glad that you're able to come on, and I know you have some kids that you have to deal with, and you said you.
Well, and just for a second, speaking of promotion, before we sign off, this weekend.
Well, we can sign off with Heather, because I know she has some things then we'll talk about Knucklehead and Indians of the Week.
Yeah, I got one comment to jump in here from Eric Kills 100 when you guys were talking about the hip hop and hoop dancing. He calls it hoop hop.
That was a good one, Eric.
But Heather, I could make a t-shirt. Let's hoop hop.
Yep, that's a good one. grateful that you're able to come on, and we'll put your link up to Shine, and
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it so much. Nothing means more to me than when, you know, you feel the love of your community and of the Native community. I mean, it means so much to me. So thank you so much.
And you know this is going to blow up after today.
I'm counting on it. I'm counting on
Watch.
it.
I bet you'll sell at least 10, 11 more albums.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on, and Cindy and I will stick on for. We have a segment we do, Indians of the Week and Knuckleheads of the Week, and it's just goofy.
Cool.
So you can if you want to stay on, you can. But I know you said you had a sort of a.
Sure, I'll stay on for a little bit. I might as well.
All right. Well, Cindy, you want to go with your Indian of the Week?
First, I want to talk about the 2021 Wombly Sapa Memorial Powwow coming up Saturday. It's a virtual powwow starting it runs from 11 to 4. The powwow itself will be an hour, but it's staying open for vendors. If you want to buy some jewelry, I'll be one of the vendors. You can find it on Facebook, or Kenny, you're going to have to do a link, because I only know what its name is and that it's on Facebook. That's why
I'll post something on it.
Heather, if you want to be a vendor, there's no charge on this, and you can put your
Shine stuff up?
your Shine stuff.
There you go.
Oh,
There
so
you
cool.
go.
Yeah.
So if you have some time, stop in, see the dancers. It's all been pre-recorded. I don't know much about the virtual powwow. I really don't. It'll be interesting to see. I've watched Metro Community College's virtual powwow for a while, so at least it's getting the people to be able to come together even virtually.
You have an Indian of the Week, or is that the students and who put that on? Are they your Indians of the Week?
Them, and can we keep doing Deb Holland for just a few more weeks? I want to keep her as Indian of the Week for a few more weeks. She started a special group for murdered and missing Indigenous women already. She's met with the tribes about their sacred spaces already. I think, you know, hey, right on, Deb. Keep it up. Keep going.
Should we just have a Deb Holland section of our show instead of?
So, I mean, you know, when I see her, I think if my grandma and my mom could have seen this happen, they would not have believed it. They wouldn't have believed a woman, much less a Native, would be put in charge of something like that. It would have blown their minds.
You know how we had a Where's Gary Farmer segment? Maybe we can have what's Auntie Dab doing this week?
Yeah, I want her on the show. We really need.
You can be in charge of that, Cindy.
You know, as long as she's doing something, trust and believe I will be here to report it.
All right. So Auntie Dab is your Indian of the Week?
For a while longer, yeah.
Perfect.
And the students that put on the Wombly Sapa Memorial Powwow, and all the staff and everything that goes into it.
You want to know who my Knucklehead of the Week is?
I would love to know, Ed. I'm burning with desire to know, who is your Knucklehead of the Week? Tell me.
It is the Cleveland professional baseball team.
Ooh.
I'm with
Here's
you.
why.
Bud.
Here's why. This past week, there was an Asian baseball player on their team.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Yu Chang.
Yep.
Committed an error in the game, and it cost him the game. And he got this racist Asian hate. And he says, you know, he puts on his Twitter or whatever, you know, look, I can take all your speech, but, you know, leave the racist stuff at home. And then, which is great for him. And, you know, I guess the Cleveland baseball knucklehead fans are, you know, could get Knucklehead of the Week too. But the Cleveland baseball team, their response was, oh, as a baseball team, we don't condone any racism in any form. It's like, what do you mean you don't condone it? You've been promoting it for 100 years.
Right?
So
Isn't it funny that it's racism with everybody else, but when it comes to natives, it's not racism? I have never in my life understood that, and I think I will go to my grave wondering why that's okay.
So the Cleveland baseball team for just, I can't believe they would say, well, yes, I can believe it, but they get knucklehead of the week for saying, we don't condone racism in any form. No, promoting it, not condoning it.
Right.
Anyway, that's my knucklehead. Kenny?
And a good one, Ed. That was a good one. I'll give it to you.
Moments.
Our knucklehead of the week for how many years was it? Was Snyder?
Oh, I think we renamed our the Dan Schneider Knucklehead of the Week Award,
Yep.
but we can't do that.
Maybe we
anymore.
did it, Ed. Maybe it's because of us they changed.
Once again, as a result of this show, big impact in Indian
The
country.
Washington team had changed its mascot because of you, Ed.
Because of us. It started here.
It hurt Dan so bad being knucklehead of the week every week. He caved.
Yeah, I finally gave in. I said, I can't take it anymore. Can't be called a knucklehead anymore.
Well, it did start at UNO, right? The removal of the native mascot, right? We're the first.
Right.
I didn't start that.
That was
Back in 1970 when Cindy was about, what, 40 years old? 30? What was about 35 back in
You
1970?
know we're going to be back together at some point. And a little slap, I'll take my boot off and hit you with it.
I was too young back then, Kenny, to start anything like that. I
was
think
gonna say,
Cindy
it
was a
started-
sophomore at UNO at the time.
It started at UNO, and it's still going.
Yeah, it did.
UNO was the Indians.
But anyway, is that it, Kenny? We got any comments or criticisms? And
We got one more vote from Cassie for the Deb Holland section. It says yes,
Yay.
yes, yes.
let's just, Cindy, you can be in charge of what's Auntie Deb up to this week?
And what am I not in charge of?
What
What
are
did
you
we
in
say?
charge of?
We'll give you a few
Nothing.
minutes. We'll give you a few minutes to think. I know it's real hard for you, but just try and think.
Okay.
And before we sign off, I have to say hello, Lucas. Grandma loves you.
Aww.
Well, Heather, thanks for coming on, and we'll be looking forward to your next project. And
And if we would love to put up
I'm sure Shine
Now
will be
I
up
know
for,
where all the native drama is. So
yeah,
now
Shine will be up for a Grammy.
yeah.
And if you would love, we would love to put up a link for people to buy the album.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, of course. I will send everything over.
Perfect.
Send it to Kenny because it'll get lost if you send it to me.
Ed doesn't answer email. It's just
Okay.
a personal thing.
I try to avoid as many people as possible. But is that it, Kenny? Are we done?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank.
Alrighty, we'll see you all next week.
Maybe next week.
Do
Thank.
we have a guest lined up, or are we just? Oh, I guess it's just you.